All right, so episode 4 of Agatha, All Along, starts with Agatha looking at a dead Sharon Davis while Teen and Alice dig a grave for her. And Agatha is literally the only person who can't give two shits over the fact that this woman is dead. Now, the only problem I had with this is that, now we need a new Green Witch. You never had a Green Witch, thanks to Agatha, because she didn't want to get Rio. So, the other witches are just annoyed at how Agatha is completely cold to the fact that this woman is dead, especially since she wasn't a witch to begin with. So, and even Teen, I think, is starting to realize that, maybe she isn't as great as I thought. So, the next phase of the trials involved Alice. So, she's a protection witch, and Alice is trying to avoid going into this house, which makes me think that she recognized the house, or that she knew that this trial was meant for her, or just simply PTSD from the last house. Either way. So, they go in, and they're all in 70s getup. Agatha looks like Cher. I'm pretty sure that Cher had an outfit like that. Alice looked like Yoko Ono. Teen looked like Davy Jones. And the other two, I was very unsure of. That actually, it looked like another Yoko Ono outfit on Jen. And, with Lilia, I couldn't place who she was supposed to be dressed as. And, so they're in a recording studio. And the timer starts. And they look around, and each one of them sees something that, Lilia and Alice and Jen all look around, and they're all seeing something. Jen is just looking. Alice sees a picture of her mom. But Lilia, she seems very distraught with what she sees. And she continues to make these strange utterances, which obviously she has no memory of. She'll make a strange utterance, and when somebody asks her about it, she will be very confused. I'm sorry, how can you be a divination witch and not remember what you're divining? I mean, I can understand. I mean, you're going to have to explain it. Why are we getting bits and pieces? One of the reasons why I hated Trelawney in Harry Potter, for this very reason. Anyway, so they figure out, Agatha figures out, first Lilia gets attacked, and Alice protects her, because she's a protection witch, and then same thing with Jen. Now, and apparently they have all the same markings as Alice does. And she's like, I always thought it was a birthmark, even though she had the same thing. First off, Um, I'm pretty sure that that's a thing. I'm pretty sure you could share the same birthmark as a parent. I mean, it's probably rare, but probably not unheard of. But apparently, she is literally cursed. And so everybody is seriously pissed off with Alice for not telling anybody that she's actually cursed. She knows she's cursed. She is just in denial because of what happened to her mom. I mean, she even said earlier on that her mom died in a fire at a rock concert. We find out that Agatha managed to get to the end of the Witch's Road just by herself. Which she even said to Rio that she just needs the other witches to get her to the end. That she doesn't give a shit what happens to them. Now, Rio basically comes out of the grave that they put Sharon in. So, that's giving you one hint. Now, I heard about the Funko Pops, so I already know the answer to this. So, Rio first comes out of what is seemingly Sharon's grave. Then they get and Rio is just having way too much fun. You know, she's totally calm. She's having a grand old time watching these witches deal with these trials and freaking out. And she's just perfectly calm. And it's not just because she's supposed to be a comic relief. No. So they figure out that Alice is cursed, and she's put the curse on all of them. So Agatha figures out that the song is what's protecting Alice. As long as somebody is singing that song, she's safe. That Lorna's version of the ballad is a protection spell. And that her only reason for doing this song was to protect Alice. So they have to do a rock ballad version of The Witch's Road. Teen plays guitar, which, yeah, Davy Jones played guitar on the Monkees, so that checks. The fact that Agatha is singing lead is number one. It's her show. But also, that was Cher's role. She was a lead singer. Yoko Ono played piano / keyboards and sang. Again, Jen, I'm not sure about, because like I said, she looks like she was wearing potentially another outfit that Yoko might have worn. So I don't know. Again, I don't know who she's supposed to be. Not completely sure. Lilia, definitely not a clue. Though Patti LuPone is old enough, so it could have been a younger version of her at some point. I mean, she is a Tony legend. And, I think that's all. And Rio is Rio. And she's on drums. So they sing the song, and while singing the song, Alice sees her curse manifested, and so she kills the curse. So I assume that she's not cursed anymore, that when she gets back, she's not going to have all this horrible luck, provided she survives. But since she survived her trial, I'm assuming that she's going to live. So then, somehow, I have no clue how this happened, Teen ends up collapsing. Because he he got hit with some shard of something, which no shards were being thrown. There was fire, so maybe some debris came out of the fire, but I didn't see anything really. So Jen is the one who saves him, and not only does she save him, but she uses magic, which she couldn't do before. So then we have bonding time. First, Agatha and Teen. And Agatha is super worried. And you could see the looks on all the other witches' faces. They're like, oh, so she actually cares about someone. Okay, cool. And she watches over him to make sure that he's going to be okay. Even when he wakes up, she's more guarded. He asks her if she put the sigil on him. And she's like, no, but I wouldn't know even if I did. Meaning that the witch who casts the sigil, to ensure that it's not tampered with or something, the witch forgets about it too. Which, like Agatha said, is very annoying. That's why it's not used very often. So then he asks about Nicholas Scratch, about her son. And that's when she just completely closes up and moves to the other group, where they're having the grandest time talking about battle scars and giving their backstory. So we find out that the guy that we saw in Jen's hallucination was the guy who gave her that fake invitation and tricked her into going to this gathering, and he then bound her powers, which we still don't know why. We know she was tricked, but we don't know why yet. I'm assuming that as the episodes go on, which is like 4, I think, we're going to find out more and more about who bound her. Then we hear from Alice talking about how basically she always knew about the road. She knew about her mother's powers. She knew that she was a powerful witch, but she just kept it in denial. You know, she was trying to ignore that part of herself because she was angry. She was angry that her mom was killed, which, fair. So then we get more gibberish from Lilia. But at least with Jen, she's like laughs it off, saying, where did you go? You know, I'm sure that Lilia catches on that her divinations, she doesn't remember. That she goes into, I don't know, a trance or something and just doesn't remember what she says. So, Lilia and Rio, they seem to be getting along. Actually, all the witches seem to be getting along. Rio then tells this story about how, well, before we get there, when Teen was being saved, Agatha is looking pleadingly at Rio. And thankfully at Rio after Teen he survives. So then Rio tells this story when they're bonding about how she was in love with a woman, and unfortunately her job came between them because she had to take someone's life. So I'm going to say that she was the one who killed Nicholas Scratch. And then she gets up to go after Agatha, who is, trying to you can see that she's moved by Rio's story. And Lilia tells her, I haven't forgotten what you said. Now, granted, I doubt she believes that Agatha was just innocently trying to, claim that she isn't out for herself and that she has no interest in what happens to the rest of the coven. But she also knows that Rio is a bitch. So Rio and Agatha talk. It looks like there's going to be a makeout session. But before there is, Rio says, that isn't your boy. Meaning that isn't Nicholas Scratch. That is someone else. Now, she doesn't tell us who that is. But thank you, Funko Pops. What I thought and what a lot of people thought, it turns out it's true. But what you didn't expect, and it makes so much sense in the context of this show, in this episode, is that Rio is actually Mistress Death. Because again, thank you Funko Pops for having a Death Funko Pop. Couldn't be Rio Vidal. No, it has to be Death. Because toys like to spoil things. But yeah, that it makes sense in this episode. The pleading looks to Rio was basically saying, don't take him. Because she has full control over who lives and dies. Now, I'm not saying that absolves Agatha of what happened to Sharon, because everybody was blaming everyone else that she had 2 glasses of wine, so it's a potion witch's fault. She, this happened, that happened, and it's like, okay, we've got to stop this. Actually, it's Teen who stopped it. Teen had the spell book that, I'm going to go back to calling him Billy. Billy had the spell book that, brought Rio, which I'm unclear whether their spell worked or whether Rio would have popped up anyway. So that's how the episode ends, is with Agatha getting this information that is not her kid. Now, whether that means that she's going to stop treating him, caring about him, or if she's going to still show concern towards him like when he got injured. Now, I did see an article in Variety. I didn't read it, but they were talking about turning the ballad of the Witch's Road into a rock ballad. And in it, in the title, they mentioned that not just one of the cast members, but all of the cast members were scared to death to sing in front of Patti LuPone, which, that checks. That tracks. I mean, it's Patti LuPone. She is a Tony legend. She is a Broadway legend. Of course you're going to be afraid to sing in front of her. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So, now I'm unclear. I didn't hear a male voice, so I'm assuming that Billy only played guitar rather than actually singing background vocals. And I just find it endearing that when the episode starts and you hear Billy, and maybe it's just my ear, but when you first hear Billy talking at the beginning of an episode, you hear a little bit of his Manx accent. And as the episode goes, he covers it better. And for those who wonder what the hell is Manx, that means he's from the Isle of Man. That's all it means. So we now have Alice being much more comfortable with herself because the curse has been broken. We have Jen being more comfortable with herself because she's no longer bound. So now we have Lilia, because if Rio is truly Mistress Death, the Witch's Road will do nothing for her. Of course, Agatha, and we have Billy. We have Wiccan. So now, technically, even though towards the end, because of what happened to Billy in the house when he gets knocked through a plane, that's probably where he got injured. When he was knocked through the window pane. Oh my God. And yeah, that's probably where he got injured. And it wasn't until, because adrenaline is a thing, towards the end that he collapsed. And so those are the only 3 witches that could potentially have a trial. Now, like I said, technically Rio is not a witch. She's Mistress Death. I assumed that we wouldn't see what happened with Billy or Agatha till towards the end because, well, you know. So the last 2 episodes maybe, because on Halloween there's going to be 2 episodes shown. So that leaves Lilia, and I do not have high hopes for her. I am seriously worried that she is going to be the witch's death, because there's got to be a witch's death. Both Jen and Alice have gotten through their trial, so they should be safe. Agatha, well, this is her show, so she's probably going to be fine. Billy, well, he's Wiccan, so he's probably going to be fine. I mean, they probably are going to use him later on. Rio is Mistress Death, so how can you kill Death personified? And so that leads Lilia. Now, in the comics, and I had to read this from Collider, in the comics, she dies, but she comes back, because it's comics. People don't stay dead. Very few people stay dead. I think in the 616 universe, it's just Uncle Ben. I think he's the only one who stays dead. He's permadead. But even then, in other realities, I think he is alive. So, now I assume that we won't get to Billy till the end, because if he is Billy Kaplan and he is Wiccan, then obviously the big reveal of his mother being Scarlet Witch and her coming back, that would make sense to have it happen at the end. But you could say the same thing for Agatha getting her powers. And I have no idea what's going to happen with Rio, because, again, Mistress Death. Now, we haven't seen the Salem 7 since they came onto the Witch's Road. And considering the first episode, Rio mentioned that the Salem 7 wanted Agatha dead, I find it hard to believe that that's all we're seeing of them. I assume we're going to see them again. Now, whether we're going to go outside the Witch's Road, everybody passes their trials, they all make it to the end of the road, they get back to the real world, and they come across the Salem 7 again? Or the Salem 7 manages to somehow make it to the Witch's Road. I'm really not sure. So, but yeah, maybe now Agatha seemed to be starting to actually care about what's happening. And then Rio drops that this isn't her kid. So maybe she's going to regress again with what little she was starting to do. Let's see what else about this episode. Hmm. Trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. Huh. I think I've covered everything from this episode. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.